Hello and welcome to Don't Bury the Lead. We recap WWE SmackDown every Saturday. My name is John Zindel. I'm joined by Dom Scarcella. Dom, go ahead and tell the people a little bit about yourself.
We're getting used to this Saturday thing. Today we're live streaming a little bit earlier. The sun is out. It's the early afternoon. Hey, things look good. So did SmackDown give us as sunny an evening as the current day here is in southern New Jersey? I don't know, but we're going to find out. John, don't bury the lead. What's our top story from SmackDown from October 18th, 2024?
Dom, we don't ever bury the lead. And the lead is pretty much no surprise, a talking segment between Roman Reigns and Solo Sikoa, where Roman Reigns even says he acknowledges Solo Sikoa. But eventually they get to a point where there isn't enough acknowledgement from Roman Reigns. Roman declines acknowledging Solo. There's a big brawl. Bloodline comes in, stomps out Roman Reigns, and Bloodline stands strong. Dom, what'd you think about this main event talking segment?
Interesting to see. I'm still getting over seeing Roman out there without Paul Heyman.
Yes.
And they alluded to that earlier in the show when Roman and Jimmy Uso were sitting backstage and there was no Paul Heyman. And, you know, they even said, like, Jimmy saying, like, I'm trying to be your wise man. It's like, you're not a wise man. You know? It's like, I'm not even a wise man. So Roman's out there by himself. They had teased that Jey Uso is in the building. He was part of the opening segment and was part of a backstage segment when Roman and Jimmy arrived. But it's just Roman out there by himself. Solo asked to acknowledge me. And Roman says, I acknowledge you. And Solo says, no, that's not good enough. You have to acknowledge me as your tribal chief. And that's when Roman gets angry. And when Roman gets angry, Solo laughs at him and says, you haven't changed at all. You're still the same guy you always were. At that point, Solo snaps his fingers, which is his call for backup. Tama Tonga, Tongaloa, and Jacob Fatu slowly walk out, dragging a beaten Jimmy Uso behind, in tow there. At that point, the schmoz happens in the ring. Jimmy never recovers. He's just laid out near the entrance area. Jey Uso never comes to the rescue. And Roman Reigns, despite fighting valiantly for a while, eventually, like you said, gets beaten down, takes 2 Samoan spikes. The crowd is chanting Solo sucks as the show goes off the air. Little bit of teases that went on in here. Was there anything? Because this was a long closing segment. It was like 15 minutes or so. Any particulars in this segment that you wanted to highlight?
Yeah. From my perspective, the only thing that I kind of wanted to call out here is Roman Reigns acknowledging Solo Sikoa, just taking that one little step back. He's like, all right, I acknowledge you.
A little bit.
Yeah. It's almost like when they do like an apology and you go, oh, I'm sorry. It's like, did you mean it though? Like with the apology. And
I'm like, sorry you were offended.
I'm sorry that you were offended. Yeah. Exactly. It's like one of those apologies. That's what the promo kind of reminded me of. I do want to give a minus. And I just want to say, Nick, what's up, brother? Thanks for joining.
Hello, Nick. Saw you last night. I caught your second hour there. You were doing a lot of AEW stuff, and maybe teaser. Maybe we get to some AEW stuff in Cheap Heat.
Ooh.
Yes, Nick from the Nick Club Wrestling Happy Hour.
Yeah, go ahead and check them out. And, I wanted to give a minus for, I noticed a shaky camera during the beatdown, which is something I thought they got rid of. but I have that in my notes, and the production was like the shaky cam.
Ah,
They were doing like the stomps to him, which I I always don't like, and I think a lot of people don't like it, but it's specifically I don't like it because it makes me dizzy. Like, it physically like makes me uncomfortable.
that's not how reality looks.
No, no, it feels like it makes me dizzy, and also it looks like crap, and it makes it look really fake.
Okay.
Just
Okay.
the F word.
Okay, so that's one minus there. I had a couple of pluses. They've been teasing, will Solo get the Ulafala? Like that's their championship belt,
Mhm.
for the bloodline, for the tribe there. It's that necklace that Solo wears now that Roman used to wear. During this one, the Ulafala falls off of Solo Sikoa and it's just sitting there. And this is the point where Roman had beaten up everybody. He picks up the Ulafala, actually puts it on, but then Solo Sikoa low blows him. And at that point, Roman keels over and the Ulafala kind of falls off and Solo takes it the rest of the way. So they're teasing that Roman is just getting it back on, but I may not be up on my ancient Samoan tribalism, but I don't think you get to put on the Ulafala yourself. I think the Ulafala is when other people acknowledge you and someone else puts it on you. It's like you never see Solo Sikoa put it on himself. Like tonight, Jacob Fatu put the Ulafala on Solo Sikoa. I don't know if Roman can just put it on himself like that. That's kind of like Drew McIntyre just taking CM Punk's friendship bracelet and putting it on his own wrist. Like, no, you just stole the thing. It's not really yours, So I wonder what that's going to be. One other thing I wanted to point out. Solo looks like he belongs. Toe-to-toe with Roman Reigns on the mic. There's no drop off when Solo speaks.
Yes.
He's an A-level heel on the mic at this point.
No, I thought he nailed all his lines. Especially they do a good job of giving some reasoning behind why the heel's a heel.
Yep.
Why he's like, "Oh, you haven't changed. Like you were never
Yeah.
going to give this to me, so I just took it." Like, and you could even see then Roman going from like straight babyface to being like, "Well, I'm the tribal chief, not you."
Yep.
It's still that like power struggle where,
Sure.
oh, I want us to be together. I want us to be a family, but also I want to lead, and it's my thing.
Yeah, have people forgotten like the Roman Reigns character for the last several years? How he basically, threatened Jimmy and Jey Uso in order to get the tribe to get them to acknowledge him in the first place. I mean, Solo's basically doing the Roman Reigns playbook.
Yeah, totally. And it's
He's
good that
doing
they
it well.
acknowledge that. We got a couple chats in that I want to get to. So
Okay. Ladder match ultimately for the Ulafala. Oh, yes. The Ulafala hanging above the ring there with a ladder. Okay.
it feels like a belt. It feels like something that would be significant to have. It would be better than like King of the Ring or something like that, where you just kind of have it, you win the trophy, and then you move on. Or even the Saudi belt, which you'll have it and you'll move on, and that'll be that. I got another one here. Jesse, this is my wife's sister on and watching. Hello, hello.
Welcome to Don't Bury the Lead on this lovely Saturday afternoon.
Yeah. Cool. So, yeah, I thought it was a pretty cool segment. Always good with the bloodline. And even with no Paul Heyman, Roman Reigns holding his own on the mic here.
Oh, yeah.
And Solo, we keep talking about it ahead of schedule. So anything else from this main event, Dom?
It's a slow burn, which we've been used to with the bloodline. And I think for good reason. I think they do good slow burns. The only downside to it is because Roman only wrestles premium live events again. If he's going to come out for the main event, it's going to be a talking segment, maybe with a schmaz, but it's not actually going to be a match. That's the only downside to the slow burn with the bloodline, is that you go off the air with not a match.
Right.
But I like the slow burn. There's no need to rush it. Survivor Series is still more than one pay-per-view away. You got to do Crown Jewel first and then kick it into high gear for 4 weeks for Survivor Series. Then you've got, after that, Royal Rumble, then there's going to be Elimination Chamber, then you've got WrestleMania. So you've got time to build this if we're getting to a big bloodline versus bloodline WrestleMania thing going forward. With Survivor Series maybe in the middle. So there's still time.
Yep. And yeah, so I think maybe we can kick it into the follow here and talk about the rest of the show, and maybe I'll give us what I thought is it was tough for me to pick a match of the night, but maybe one that I thought was pretty good was the opening match here, which is this show was all about tag teams.
Yeah.
And building that up, which I like because they seem to sometimes ignore it from time to time.
Mhm.
So basically, we're going to have 3 tag teams face each other. The winner of that moves on to next week, and then the winner of that gets a shot at the titles.
Yep.
We have DIY versus the Street Profits versus Pretty Deadly, and DIY go over in, which is a very wonky finish. It's wonky rules for the match, so the finish is wonky as well, where it looks like DIY gets the cover on a legal man, where the Street Profits were making a cover on an illegal man. So that's where we end up here, is DIY getting the win. Dom, what'd you think of this matchup here?
I like the finish because a triple threat tag team where there's always one legal competitor from each team in the ring, so it's always a triple threat. That can get a little confusing. So they played into the confusion at the end of the match. Tommaso Ciampa and Johnny Gargano hit the meet in the middle on Kit Wilson. Montez Ford does the top turnbuckle sunset flip neck breaker as D'Angelo Dawkins holds Elton Prince up on his shoulders. Montez pins Elton. Ciampa pins Kit. The referee counts, because it was a simultaneous cover there. The referee counts 3. Each guy thinks he's won, but the ref correctly notes, no, Kit Wilson's the legal competitor. That's the pinfall that counts. So I like it. It's a confusing mess of a match. So make the finish confusing, and the referee knew what was going on, though. So okay, that's the good wrinkle there. That's the only note I had for the match. I'm watching the whole thing going, okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Okay.
No.
Yeah. Okay. And then like the finish happened, I went, okay.
That is a great description of the match, because I don't have a lot of notes because it was moving so quickly. I couldn't really keep up. And also, in the first 2 minutes, I have a minus. It said 2 dives in the first 2 minutes, which I'm like, okay, we're doing everyone just dives and catches each other, and then dives and catches each other. All right. We got to do away with that one. We got to start, like, I don't want to nitpick too much, because I know that they have these spots, they work them out. If I'm in the Performance Center, I'm like, no dives, stop diving. It's been beaten to death at this point.
It's visually impressive, though. Like, it makes a heck of a lot more sense to do the LA Knight feet first through the ropes at the guy as you grab the rope. That makes much more sense.
We'll talk about that later. I noticed another team do that, but I don't want to spoil it.
There you go.
So I noticed that, and I like that, the baseball slide. So, the 2 dives, Pretty Deadly, man, they really make the most of their minutes when they're on the TV screen. They stick out the most. They have a gimmick which feels like it should be awful, but they really go for it, and they really pull it off to the point where we both like Pretty Deadly.
Yeah.
They did a great job selling to the crowd, and the crowd was either chanting "You suck" or something like that. They were giving it back to them.
So they weren't yelling "Yes, boy" back at them.
They weren't doing the "Yes, boy," but there is some face turn down the corner, or down the road for them. I could see it working, but
they have a lot of charisma.
it's raw charisma which they have out there, which
Yeah.
they are able to pull off this very difficult gimmick to pull off. I
It's not
mean,
just heels telling people to shut up and using weapons and cheating. Like they
yeah,
have they're heels with charisma. So whenever you notice a heel has charisma, you're like, okay, that could be a pretty good face turn if it works. So
mhm.
yeah, I like I said, I didn't have any other really spots to call out in this match. I mean, you called out the ones that I was trying to not mention, the dives. But
No, well, only because it's my gimmick is to call out
yes.
dives. Um, so it's that's all part of my gimmick. Um, do you want to move to the next match here? So we talk DIY Street Profits Pretty Deadly. Do you want to
You
talk
want to go
about
to the other triple threat where
yeah,
we
that
got
probably
a surprise of the night? It was Legado del Fantasma, that's Angel and Humberto, versus A-Town Down Under, Grayson Waller and Austin Theory, versus making their debut in the WWE, Alex Shelley and Chris Sabin. They not only let them use their names, Alex Shelley and Chris Sabin, that they've been using everywhere else, but they also let them use the Motor City Machine Guns name. It's a very un-WWE thing to do.
yeah.
But the Motor City Machine Guns come out and they wind up winning this match. They pin Umberto after Shelley hits the top turn crossbody while Sabin held Umberto in the inverted face lock, almost like he was going to do the the Sting Scorpion Death Drop on him. Winds up being about a 10-minute match. Lots of action again. The announcers are trying to put over the Motor City Machine Guns like crazy. It was
Yes.
almost a foregone conclusion that they had to win this with how they were being just pumped up by Wade Barrett. You know, just
Wade is a great cheerleader when he wants to be. He can
yeah,
really he's done that with LA Knight a lot too.
yeah.
And
As a former wrestler, it almost has some gravitas behind it, right? Like oh, he's a former wrestler, so he would know.
it's what the color guy is supposed to do. The color
Yeah,
guy is supposed to put over the talent in the ring, not just kind of ignore them or it's supposed to be like, oh, this guy's really good for these following reasons.
it's color commentary. That's what it is in every sport.
Right.
Something other than just the play-by-play action.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so I like Wade Barrett in that role. He was here because Michael Cole is on assignment. I don't know what that means. So Corey Graves slid back over to play-by-play, and they brought in Corey Graves at the beginning. Said, "I've got some bad news for you." It's bad news, Barrett. Like oh ha ha ha. There's so they have some good chemistry. And yeah, I did like Wade Barrett there, but I wonder at this stage of this career what the Motor City Machine Guns can do. They've been wrestling almost for 20 years outside of the WWE. They've been great as singles competitors and as the tag team, obviously, as the Motor City Machine Guns. Like Chris Sabin was TNA champ, singles champ for a while.
Wow.
He did have a neat run there. He was like way over as a baby face. Alex Shelley had some singles titles as well. Both these guys have been X Division champs in TNA, which is kind of their secondary belt for the singles. So they've both been that. Then they kind of got put together as a tag team, and they just clicked very, very well. And so the Motor City Machine Guns became a thing. And I wonder what they'll be able to do in the WWE. They're kind of the size of DIY, a little smaller than Pretty Deadly, a little smaller than A-Town Down Under, definitely smaller than Angelo Dawkins, but they kind of wrestle the way Montez Ford does for the Street Profits. Kind of that luchador thing that the Legado del Fantasma guys do, Angel and Umberto. So they're going to fit very well into the current tag team landscape on SmackDown as represented by these 6 teams tonight. I don't know if that's going to add much to the division, though. They're not really a different tag team than what we've seen. Like the Raw belts seem to have more variety from the tag teams that are vying for it.
Yes.
Everybody in the men's tag team division on SmackDown, they look like they're going to do Irish whips and dives all night.
Right. I know what you mean. They have different styles of wrestling in their tag team division.
Over on Raw.
Yeah.
More so.
Um,
I think
what,
that's why Angelo Dawkins is like a breath of fresh air whenever there's a
right?
Street Profits match.
Yeah,
Like,
it's
oh,
a
it's a
guy that.
power guy. He can do some of the leaping stuff, but he's a power guy. He
Mhm.
wrestles differently. He looks different in the ring when he gets in there and you know performs.
It's a shame you don't have AEW or you don't watch it. FTR would be like right up our alley.
Okay.
They don't do any dives or anything like that, but they're just excellent in ring, and they're big freaking old school hosses that are just athletes. They both look like linebackers, college football linebackers. Like,
Okay.
but yeah. So, um, what did you think of Motor City Machine Guns? Because I have never heard of this team. I actually
Okay.
heard the okay. I should say I heard of the name, but I had no idea who the people were. Then I Google them, and I'm like, oh, these guys have been around for a very long
Yep.
time.
Uh, I remember each of them from their primes. I didn't see too much of the Motor City Machine Guns the last, say, 10 years or so. So I
Mm-hmm.
don't know how they've progressed in their career. I remember sort of the first half of their careers earlier, even preceding the tag team.
Yeah,
I wonder if they're going to be able to compete with some of the younger talent because they've both got to be in their 40s by now. I haven't
the,
checked up on it.
one was 41 or 42 years old. So yeah, they're up there.
Yeah, so I
They're up
wonder.
there for getting their shot in WWE. Now,
Finally, it's like an LA Knight story, like finally getting your shot as you're in your late 30s,
yeah.
and seeing how much you can squeeze into a WWE run. I thought they worked what I remember them being. They're very acrobatic, lots of gymnastics. Um, if you like that kind of thing, there's plenty of it in the SmackDown tag team division. Between LDF, DIY, Montez Ford, there's plenty of that. So if you like that fast-paced acrobatic style, you're now going to get even more of that. I wonder, like DIY versus Motor City Machine Guns. It's going to be like four of the same guy in the match.
I know.
Like they're all the same guy.
They they are all similar, maybe a little smaller, but like fit and bigger, but like a little bit smaller, and they're doing all the agility moves and the gymnasticy stuff. So
I wonder what kind of a match they're going to have. Like, I don't want it to be too stale in the sense that, okay, it's acrobatics, which are supposed to be exciting, but like it's all acrobatics.
mhm,
So
mhm.
I wonder what kind of a match they'll be able to have. So I'm intrigued, not necessarily because I'm optimistic
And
and
I'm
glowing
assuming they're
over it.
both baby faces, right?
Yeah, who's the heel?
Yeah, well, DIY
Motor
have.
City Machine Guns got a pretty decent pop. I mean, they were playing them up as baby faces.
I did notice the crowd was chanting either their names or something while they were doing, and they were selling to the crowd, trying to get them to do go go go. They probably have a big crowd for the first time in like years. If they've been in
Right.
TNA, they're like, oh my god, yeah, I can work the crowd. You know?
Yeah, so that's an interesting thing again, like DIY versus the Street Profits. It's been babyface on babyface. Unfortunately, the heel tag teams on SmackDowns are kind of the half comedy teams. It's A-Town Down Under or it's Pretty Deadly.
Yeah,
Like they don't have just a vicious dominating heel team.
bloodline, but that's it.
Bloodline who have the belts. But
Right.
like, so if once they have the belts, the only people challenging them, and maybe that's where it has to be is like, you just want to have the baby faces square off to see what baby face gets to challenge for the belts.
Mm-hmm. Well, I think we could probably move on to the next match here. So we'll see that next week on SmackDown. We'll
Mm-hmm.
see what they do. We can go to the next match here, which I would say is the opposite of the gymnastic-y stuff. And we got two horses in Piper Niven versus Lash Legend in her debut from NXT. We saw a very, very little bit from her in a tag team match where she got squashed.
Mm-hmm.
But she got a singles match here, and Lash Legend goes over Piper Niven. Dom, What did you think about this? I'm going to call it a singles debut for Lash Legend
Yep.
and Piper Nevin here.
Both tag team partners were on the outside and did get involved a little bit. So Chelsea Green was there and Jakara Jackson was there as well. But yeah, Lash Legend goes over in about 3 minutes. But
Mhm.
3 minutes of wrestling time on screen there. It seemed like more though, because they didn't waste a lot of time. They were trading early covers. It was a lot of power on power stuff. So it was fun. They teased, Ken Lash Legend pick up Piper Nevin for like a big slam or something. Eventually, she whips Piper Nevin into the ropes. Piper comes off like she's going to do a cross body. Lash catches her and then turns her for the body slam.
Mhm.
And then that was pretty neat. And then a little bit later, the finish comes. Maybe this is Lash Legend's finishing move. She kind of gets Piper Nevin up in what looks like it's going to be that backdropping power slam, except it's face first rather than back first. So it's not really like the white noise that the Sheamus does,
Mhm.
where it would be, planting the guy back first as you drop backwards with him. This is, Piper's up there face first getting smashed into the ring. So it's a new wrinkle, different move, and this gets her the pinfall. I'm a little surprised that they just brought this tag team up from NXT, already put him in a match with the tag champs,
Yeah.
and now we're giving one of them a singles victory over Piper Nevin. So I don't know what the plans are here. Are they just ramping up all of the tag team divisions? I mean, is SmackDown trying to introduce new wrestlers slowly in anticipation of going to 3 hours in the new year and saying, well, we're going to
Oh.
have more time to fill, so we're going to need more people on SmackDown? Because we saw that in another match. I don't have much else to say about this match. I'll give the tease segue for the next match. Is the only match we haven't done yet was a tag
I
team which we saw Candice LeRae and Indy Hartwell making their way to SmackDown. So are they trying to slowly? Raw's already down to 2 hours. Are they slowly migrating more people to SmackDown because SmackDown's going to need more on-screen wrestlers soon?
Oh, that's a great point. I didn't even think of that. That's why we're seeing all the because I was like, this is a lot. Yeah, this is a lot of new people, which is good. And I was like, is this like the booking strategy too by Triple H? Maybe just to keep things fresh. Don't keep people out there for too long where they're
Mhm.
stale. Keep everybody fresh. That can work. So bring people up from NXT that can work, and then that are good. Give them the opportunities, and
Mhm.
you know
Yeah, they don't have to be up here forever. Like, yeah,
Kevin
you're
Owens is at
sending.
home doing a promo, but he's at home. He's not, and he just does a quick couple liner at home promo.
Mhm.
I did want to talk a little bit about this match before
Sure.
we moved on from it, because I do want to say, even though the match wasn't very long, I thought it was a good match. It didn't feel like a squash,
No.
and it felt like they got a lot of stuff in the short time they were given. Lash Legend looked pretty smooth, considering it's the first time I've ever seen her.
Okay.
And if Jade Cargill had the match tonight that Lash Legend had, I would say, you know what? Jade looks pretty good.
Yeah, we'd be raving about her,
We'd
right?
be raving about her. So if you want to use that as your baseline, Jade Cargill, what she was supposed to get to, this is kind of what you wanted out of Jade by now, where she could have a match like this. It looks good. She gets the win over Piper Nevin. They both kind of look strong because she looks so
Mhm.
good, Lash. And I wonder if this is like, I'm looking at this match and I'm like, man, I wish this was Jade had this capability, because we wouldn't be in this snafu that we're in right now with Jade. And then in addition to that, I wish they would even give Jade the opportunity to do this match
Mhm.
with Piper Nevin. And kudos to Piper Nevin for putting on a good match with someone I've never seen in my life. Who
Mhm.
knows if they're any good? Sometimes they call these people from NXT and it's woof,
Yeah.
So this was not a woof. This is actually nice showing by Lash.
I'm going to read your teleprompter. That sounds like a shorts
That
or
sounds
a short video.
Yes.
Lash Legend, very athletic, strong, built not like the skinny girls who look like they're almost going to break. Built, well proportioned, looks like an athlete. Seemed to be a little early on some of the moves where she was supposed to get out of the way of a Piper Niven move. She seemed like she was avoiding it too early to where you're like, how did Piper Niven not see that she moved?
Yeah, the timing wasn't just
She's a
there.
beat too early. It's like that timing has to be a little crisper.
Mhm.
But like all the tools are there. She both sold, wrestled a little bit defensively, and did her own offense. Yeah, that's really what you're looking for. If you only sell and do your own offense, then it's a spot fest. But if you
Mhm.
can sell, keep selling, and wrestle defensively, now it's not a spot fest. So that's what I'm looking for. And yeah, I think Lash Legend can do it. I'm with you. If this had been if Jade Cargill could wrestle like this in a singles match, we'd be talking about, okay, she's ready for the push into the upper levels of the women's division to challenge for a belt.
Yeah, you would be like, good signing, good. It would be all positive stuff, and I was hoping we would get there. I mean, we've
Mhm.
both been cheering for Jade. It's just
Yep.
they're either not letting her or she can't do it. So
Kudos to Lash Legend. We don't know if she and Jakara Jackson are going to be on the main roster continuously, or if this was just a few weeks from NXT before they get sent back down. But yeah, I thought they gave a good showing for themselves the last 2 weeks. We know who they are and we remember them. Good for them.
So we
One
have
more match and a bunch of backstage stuff.
one more matchup. So we have Nia Jax and Candice LeRae go over Bailey and Naomi, and Candice LeRae is in because Tiffany Stratton has called out sick. So
Yes.
Candice LeRae steps in. Naturally, the heels go over dirty. Indy Hartwell interferes and picks up the pinfall. Dom, what did you think of this matchup?
I thought it was pretty cool. I had no idea what Candice LeRae was going to do. She's the smallest one in the match. I don't know much about her, but it was a fun little match, and she winds up getting the pinfall. She hits a springboard moonsault on Bailey of all people, because you said Indy Hartwell eventually interfered on the outside while the ref was checking on Candice LeRae. Indy Hartwell throws Bailey into the ring post. Both Naomi and Nia Jax are out on the other side of the ring because of a dive by Naomi onto Nia Jax. So this becomes a hurt Bailey getting slid into the ring, where Candice LeRae does a springboard moonsault and gets the pinfall. So a little bit of a surprise win here. Now, Candice LeRae had said in the back when she and Indy Hartwell walked in to Nick Aldis's office and said, I'll tag with Nia Jax tonight. And I was looking at her like, what? You? Candice LeRae winds up getting the pinfall. And then Nia acts all resentful afterwards. She climbs into the ring. She's still glaring at Candice LeRae for getting the pinfall, telling the ref, raise my hand as she holds her belt. So
yes.
Nia doing she's doing the big sister, little sister thing, but even more so than she does with Tiffany Stratton.
That was so great.
Right?
Because
your runt kid sister just did something good and you resent it.
It was great because it didn't give you any hope that Nia, she's going full heel. Even when she wins, she didn't get the win, so she's angry at Candice for some reason.
She's angry at her partner
for winning.
Yes.
Which that's more in line with how a heel should think.
Yes.
Rather than being so cooperative with their teammate that they're way in sync.
They did that earlier in the match. Nia started off, and eventually she tags in Candice LeRae to, okay, let's see what you can do. Or it was Candice LeRae who tagged herself in. And so Nia looks at her, okay, you better not cost me this match. She had said that to her backstage. And so Nia's looking at her again. Candice LeRae comes in, gets, knocked around the ring for maybe a minute. scrambles over and tags in Nia, who wasn't even reaching for the tag. And Nia just looks at her like, and you want to be my tag team partner.
Yeah, I know. She's so disgusted by her.
Just disgusted. It reminds me of Seinfeld when George is trying to fool the unemployment office into thinking that he's been trying to get a job at Vandalay Industries selling latex. And he gives them Jerry's phone number. And he like rushes over to Jerry's apartment. It's like, if someone calls from the employment industry, you have to tell the Vandalay Industry. Answer the phone, Vandalay Industries. And then George goes into the bathroom. Kramer comes over. The phone rings. Kramer picks up the phone because like that's what they just do in Jerry's world.
Mhm.
And he's like, what? No, you got the wrong number. No, what LA? No. And you could hear George shouting from the bathroom, Vandalay, save Vandalay Industries. And George comes running out of the bathroom with his pants around his ankles and his boxer shorts. And he's screaming, Vandalay Industries. As Kramer hangs up the phone and George just crumples in a heap on the floor. And at that point, Jerry walks back into his apartment and sees George on the floor and goes, and you want to be my latex salesman.
Classic scene. Amazing.
It's just the disdain. Like, oh, this is my partner, really?
Oh, I will. Yeah, I will take a sideways turn to any Seinfeld inside joke. 100%.
Sure. Like, and you what? Like, that was the look that Nia Jax gave Candice LeRae when Candice LeRae was like, "Yes, tag me in," tagged herself in, then got the crap beat out of her for half a minute, and then rushed over and tagged Nia Jax, who wasn't even looking for the tag. Like, and you want to be my latex salesperson,
right? But all in all,
fun match all the way around.
Kind of gives a little shine to Indy and Candice to give them a little screen time.
Yep.
They have been pretty much perennial jobbers or not on TV, either or, right? So, and also always cool when they do like a big upset like that. Like Bailey gets pinned by Candice LeRae, which is like, what? You know?
Yep.
But
thanks to a little double team move there. But yes.
I wonder if she really was out, Tiffany Stratton.
Oh, Tiffany, I have no idea. Or
I wonder if she's really on the shelf, because why would she call out sick, or why isn't she part of the storyline?
Yeah, I mean, she is kind of a diva, so you know.
Yeah, I mean,
I don't. I still think there's a lot of room to go here with the Tiffany Stratton Money in the Bank case. So I don't think, I think Tiffany's just off TV for 1 week and that's it.
Yeah. Yeah, it's going to be a lot more time, and I love what they're doing with Nia and Tiffany so far. Yep. So,
and they've teased that there's going to be something at Crown Jewel with them, because Nia's already said, after I destroy Liv Morgan, you cash in your Money in the Bank briefcase and become the Women's World Champion. So they've already set that up that Tiffany Stratton will probably be over there in Saudi Arabia.
Yeah, and so kudos to Nia Jax too, who was out of the company, out of work, just out of wrestling for a while there, to come back, be good enough that they give her the opportunity to be the women's champ, and she's delivering on it. So kudos to Nia
Number one
Jax.
heel in the women's division.
Yeah,
and not because they put the belt on her. Like she's that character.
Yeah, and it's a loaded roster on the women's side for sure. It's crowded, which is a good thing for WWE, and she's done well with the title. So anything else you want to talk about with the show? There's a couple backstage segments and talking.
There are a couple of backstage segments. Carmelo Hayes and Andrade try to have a joint interview, but they fight almost immediately. Nick Aldis has to break them up. Later on, we get Nick Aldis telling people that LA Knight will be the special guest referee for their match. I think they're promoting it for next week's SmackDown. So that's fun. And LA Knight, of course, is saying he doesn't like either one of you. He's calling it right down the middle. So that was pretty neat to see a couple of NWA guys who were in the NWA together.
Yeah.
A handful of years ago. LA Knight as Eli Drake and Nick Aldis were there. So fun stuff. They can both work the mic. That's going to be fun. Carmelo Hayes Andrade is going to be another fun match. They seem to be adding new things they can do as they build a chemistry together. I'm interested in that. Cody Rhodes is the changeover of the hours in the ring, talking about Crown Jewel and Gunter, and meh, this didn't need to happen. I don't know. It did nothing for me. There was no confrontation. It was just him looking at the crown jewel belt while
Yeah.
some creepy guys in the background stood there with white gloves, who I guess we're not supposed to let the crown jewel belt out of their sight.
Yeah, they
I know.
it might be an advertisement for the belt, to buy the belt, or
Right?
it's just like, hey, here's this cool belt, isn't
You're a
it cool?
replica of the crown jewel belt.
You're a replica because we've got 10,000 of them manufactured already. We need to
Yes,
push
so
these things.
please buy our fake belt.
Yeah, right.
Please buy our fake belt.
Please buy the Saudi Arabia belt.
Yes. Other backstage stuff. Roman Reigns and Jimmy Uso arrive. Jay sees them arrive, smiles at Jimmy, but scowls at Roman. And he's going to walk away, but Roman grabs Jay by the arm and says, "I'm proud of you. We all are." And Jay says, "No yeet," and walks away. I still have no idea what yeet and no yeet mean. I'm trying to pick it up from the context clues. But like I'm not getting. I don't like yeet, no yeet. Why would he say no yeet? I don't know what that means. Yeah, it's old man yells at cloud. Old man yells at yeet cloud. I don't know what you mean. Yeet, no yeet.
It's kind of funny, Dom, because not only is yeet, I've looked up, like, it's an old phrase that young kids said, but now they don't say it anymore. So it's already like past its prime.
So obviously 40-year-old wrestlers are now saying it.
So exactly. It was already dead on arrival when WWE pro wrestlers that are 40 were saying it. Yeah, it was like, yeah, no, it's done. Yeet is gone.
I don't know. You brought up Kevin Owens. They did an interview segment where they made it look like he was not allowed in the arena that night, talking about how Randy Orton turned on him when he sided with Cody Rhodes. So Kevin Owens playing up like, I don't know why everyone hates me because I keep ambushing them.
Yeah, I know.
It's not me. It's not my fault. It's them. I don't know. Everyone thinks I'm the bad guy for ambushing my friend outside his bus and then ambushing my other friend from behind as he was just trying to talk to me. I don't know if people don't like me. They did tease that Randy Orton is not getting his match with Kevin Owens because the order is coming from above not to make that match.
Triple H.
Triple H. There you go. So Randy Orton says, okay, I think I know who I have to talk to now. What was their faction with Triple H, a very young Randy Orton, Dave Bautista, and Ric Flair? They were Evolution?
You got it. Yeah, the Evolution.
The old Evolution mates got to have a reunion here. Randy Orton, as the seasoned veteran now, not as the youngest WWE World Champion ever, but as a seasoned veteran, may have to go and call in some old time working capital there with Triple H.
Yeah, it's a pretty good stable because you have a lot of variety. Basically, I mean, it's three huge dudes now, but Randy Orton was newer, so it's like the future. Then you have like the present with Triple H when he was in his prime, and then you had Flair, who was a bit too old to be like a top guy, but everyone still loves Flair.
Yep.
So good. And was Batista in that too?
Dave Bautista was there as kind of the muscle for Triple H.
Yeah,
it was a good 4-man group. I mean, Kevin Sullivan has brought that up. If you go more than 4 with a group, it starts getting watered down. And who are these people? 4 is the number. The 4 horsemen.
I would agree, and I think a lot of stables do make that mistake when there's too many people on it. If there's a 5th or 6th, then it's just like, who is this guy? I can't even get into any, like, there's the dynamics are too. You don't have a good dynamic between each character then.
Yep. I mean, the best bloodline was 4 guys. Then they kind of added Sami Zayn as a 5th, or like they had Sami Zayn already. Then they added Solo Sikoa. Paul Heyman was there, but right now the Bloodline is 4 guys.
Yes.
It works.
Mhm.
Judgment Day, when they were at their best, was 4 people.
Yeah, the Judgment Day when it was 4 people was perfect.
Yeah, it was Damian Priest, Finn Balor, Dominic Mysterio, and Rhea Ripley. Then they kind of added JD McDonough and Carlito because, and that set the stage for Rhea Ripley and Damian Priest leaving to pare down the number again.
Yeah.
Now it looks like, rumors are maybe Carlito goes on a singles run to pare back down to Finn Balor, JD McDonough, Dominic Mysterio, Liv Morgan. Is Raquel Rodriguez in there now? Who knows?
Oh, right. Raquel Rodriguez.
So maybe they're going to be 5 now that they have 2 women in the group, because Liv Morgan has her enforcer, so again, it gets to be too many. So yeah, I think Evolution was a great 4-man group. And maybe we're going to get a little nostalgia there if Randy Orton has to go all the way up to Triple H to get his match with Kevin Owens.
Right.
I think that's all I had from this. That was really all that happened. We touched on just about everything because everything played into the show in some fashion, except for the Andrade, Carmelo Hayes, LA Knight stuff, which was all just promoing next week.
Yeah. So, Dom, that is all I really had from my perspective. And
is it drive time?
I think it is. As I wobble,
is it drive time? It's time for the thumb drive. You and I are going to distill this entire SmackDown into a simple thumbs up or a thumbs down. There are no ties. There are also no star ratings, no letter grades, no number grades. You're taking this course. Pass, fail.
Dom, we're not Dave Meltzer. No. We don't do the star ratings. We don't do 7 stars in the Tokyo Dome. We don't do 2 stars at the Crypto.com arena in Los Angeles. That's a real arena, folks. Crypto.com. Give me a break. And Dom, we don't do star ratings. We give a thumbs up or a thumbs down. So,
yes, we do.
Are you ready?
I am ready.
Okay. 3, 2, 1. Oh, Dom, why did you give this SmackDown a thumbs down?
It seemed like a missable show.
Yeah.
You didn't have to watch the show.
True. I think you could have read an article. You could have even just straight missed it. and you would have been completely caught up. The only reason that I gave it a thumbs up, because I was thinking thumbs down,
Mm-hmm.
and I slept on it, and I was like, I like the Lash Legend. I think she looked good.
Okay.
And they did have some wrestling. You could have skipped it, but for me, Lash Legend actually put it over. And I was like, because I was going to give it.
That's a great take.
I was going to give it a thumbs down, but I was like, I'm impressed from what I've seen from her and her debut, and it's cool they're debuting people and keeping it fresh. If it was another match, if they did like one more repeat match that we've seen a lot, if they had done another Kevin Owens, Randy Orton versus A-Town Down, then I'd been like, all right, this show's terrible. I've seen this match so many times. But for that reason, I gave it a thumbs up. It was a coin flip though for me.
Okay. Well, that's a good reason to give it. Like somebody up from NXT gave a good showing of herself.
Yeah.
That's a good reason to bump the show. Okay. I just thought, that match was a 3-minute match. And while I do like what they did in that match, they only gave him 3 minutes. Everything else, this seemed like a missable show.
The tag matches, when I was thinking like what was the match of the night and I couldn't come up with one, that's always a problem. And it means like, oh, there wasn't really that good of a match. And the triple threat tag team thing was like, all right, well, this is a mess, Yeah. I mean, they set themselves up for failure when they have those types of matches anyway.
Agreed. This one was teetering. I teetered down. You teetered up. So it's a wash.
Yep.
There
All
will
right.
be more shows. There will be more SmackDowns. There will be more premium live events.
And Dom, even though it's fall, I do have my ceiling fan on. It's getting a little hot in my room.
Is it a little warm in your neck of the nape there in South Jersey? It's almost warm here in my neck of the nape here in my portion of South Jersey, but I don't know. It's whether or not it's hot, it's always cheap.
That's right, Dom. Is it time for cheap heat?
It is time for you and I to hey, acknowledge we're not acknowledging Solo Sikoa as the tribal chief. We're acknowledging that the wrestling world, big time pro wrestling, is bigger than just the one program that you and I watch every week, and even bigger than the one promotion that we watch. So this is our chance to look at more stuff from beyond SmackDown and even beyond the WWE.
Dom, it's time for cheap heat, where we talk about WWE, AEW, and other trending topics in the wrestling world. This has helped our YouTube channel grow exponentially from what it was when we were getting like 1 or 2 views a video. Basically, just what I will do is take this content that we create shorter videos based off of what we're talking about. We also release Cheap Heat as a full video itself, and that's done pretty well the past couple months.
Yep.
So we are up to 857 subscribers.
All right.
On the road to 900. 850 was our first next goal. We hit it. So we're on the road to 900. If you're out there watching right now, it really helps our small channel out a lot if you subscribe. Just trying to get to the 1,000 so we get monetized, which would be nice. Get a couple bucks here and there for putting on the show. But appreciate you guys all for hopping in here. And I think it's time for Cheap Heat. So let's kick it to Dom.
John, who's that on the screen? You've seen much more of him than I have. That looks like that's Bryan Danielson. This comes to us from WrestleZone. He lost at AEW's Wrestle Dream, which was their pay-per-view event this past week. And as a stipulation of that, he had to retire. Sean Ross Sapp here, they're quoting, Bryan Danielson's full-time wrestling career is effectively over. Sources indicate he specifically wanted to lose to Jon Moxley to end that run, which he did at the pay-per-view here at this Wrestle Dream event. In recent months, Danielson had been quite banged up. Doctors did not allow him to compete in Blood and Guts, which I'm guessing is an extreme type of match they do. However, he was cleared for standard matches. Per Sapp, Danielson's comments about needing neck surgery were true. And he had even thought that maybe he should not have done some of the matches leading up to Wrestle Dream, trying to keep himself fresh for it. John, you saw Wrestle Dream, did you not? And you saw this main event match for the AEW World Title between Bryan Danielson and Jon Moxley. What did you make of the match? And did you see with your keen eye, did you see hints of Daniel Bryan not being 100% or them being very careful, extra careful with some moves and some things in this match? Give us your analysis of what you saw and Daniel Bryan here.
They certainly weren't careful.
Okay.
I think that they're both pros and they both know how to not kill each other and do all the moves with Jon Moxley and Bryan Danielson, but they really went for it during the match. He worked the neck and the head all match, and everyone knew that his neck was an issue, and that's what they worked for all the spots, and eventually chokes out Bryan Danielson, Jon Moxley, which is a brutal way to lose, especially, and, the heels clean as a whistle, he wins. I guess they're alluding the whole time to the neck injury, so who knows what's a real report, what's not a real report. The ending was, I would say, like watching a sad movie where it is not a happy ending, and they didn't do any of the retirement stuff where they go out, they go out on top. There's either they go out on top and they win, which it was never going to happen with Bryan Danielson, but they didn't even give him the opportunity to kind of like wave to the crowd. They stretcher him off. Like he gets beat down and beat
Oh,
down and beat down, and eventually he gets stretchered off. The crowd is silent because it's his hometown. The crowd is pretty much silent the whole time. You could see that they're pretty pissed. I really thought they might start throwing stuff like
okay.
NWO
Old
style.
NWO thing.
Yeah, and maybe because everyone knows it's a work, they restrain themselves. But I thought it was a great ending. Honestly, it sets up Moxley. Like I felt a little bit of disdain from Moxley time. I'm like, dude, just screw this guy. Like they hooked me a little bit. They got me. So
Okay.
whenever they get you in pro wrestling and you watch as a fan and you know it's all fake, but when they are able to get you a little bit, that's when they're really cooking. So they did a great job. I thought it was an excellent finish, and it sets up Moxley to be a monster heel moving forward.
Bryan Danielson's contract had expired August 1st. I guess he was basically just working on a prorated extension or a per diem. Danielson is effectively a free agent, but has no further obligations. But maybe he signs a WWE Legends deal at some point. But yeah, I guess he's been hinting at it in interviews that he wants his full-time wrestling career to be over. And maybe if he needs surgeries, he's done. He seems to be the kind of guy who he doesn't want to wrestle if he can't wrestle his style.
Yes.
So maybe he's done. Maybe he gave all that he could up until the point where he knew he was going to start losing it.
Yeah.
And so he went out, championship match, walking in as the champion, losing it the way he wants to lose it to another wrestler whom he respects a great deal in Jon Moxley, loses in very memorable fashion, and in a way that gets people talking. Men's Journal, not necessarily a pro wrestling magazine, did a big profile of him after he lost. Bryan Danielson is the reason I love pro wrestling. A reflection on how Bryan Danielson turned me into the wrestling fan I am today as his full-time career comes to an end. You don't see this a lot in non-wrestling magazines.
Yeah.
But he gets a very good write-up here. And Bryan Danielson is not like the movie star guy. He's not The Rock. He's not John Cena, who they show here wrestling the then named Daniel Bryan in his WWE run. He's not like the movie star person who you'd expect to be in a more mainstreamy publication, non-wrestling publication. But I guess Bryan Danielson meant a lot to a lot of fans. Warranted? Something you're surprised at seeing? What does this kind of coverage of Bryan Danielson do for you?
Yeah, I mean, if you look back at his full-time career, he actually retired already in WWE at one point, and I know that they really got him to retire. Then he wanted to come back, but they kind of refused to have him come back, and they can only wrestle a certain style that was safer. So he jumped ship, went to AEW, and he's had a really great career. He's been like the ultimate babyface. So even when he lost to Moxley, it really was a lot on Bryan Danielson's appeal rather than Moxley's. Now, Moxley was not giving him any time of day or any sort of sportsmanship like which you would typically see, in modern day wrestling and retirement. But this one's kind of old school, where his retirement is a way to extend a storyline. And then in addition to that, this is when he was a heel. This is fantastic. The Planet's champion. So he was basically like a go green guy, and he had like a wooden belt rather than made of like, I guess like, I don't know, all of the like, I'm trying to think of the right terminology.
It's even bigger than the People's Champion. He's the Planet's champion. It's responsible ecology. The belt is made out of wood, a sustainable resource, and it looks like a mosaic of repurposed stones there.
This was actually pretty brilliant and he would get so much heat. He gets so much heel heat for telling people all about how they're like wasteful and stuff like that. Which is like, someone like that. Someone in your life that is ultra obsessed with global warming and yelling at you for stuff, and you're like, leave me alone. I get it, but
So eventually he gets to AEW. What was it like for you, John, when Bryan Danielson, when the Daniel Bryan era ended in WWE and he went to AEW? Did you expect that he'd be the kind of wrestler you've seen the last few years in AEW?
I don't think anyone thought he'd be that good. So, yeah, he's really overperformed. He's one of their. I mean, there's some signings that they've had that have gone a little flat. There's some that probably need a little bit time to get going. Maybe Mercedes Moné. Some people are saying that one hasn't been so good. I kind of disagree with that. Adam
Okay.
Cole has been a complete bust.
Ah,
And but Bryan Danielson really hit it out of the park in AEW. And there's so many different matchups they wasn't able to have in WWE that they just had in AEW. Like he wrestled Kenny Omega, like he wrestled, and that match really was, those two tore it up. I think he takes some of the agile and the flippy stuff, if you will, the gymnasticy stuff type stuff he can do, but he breaks it down into some simple, basic, standard wrestling. That it's a great combo.
okay. And there was, the Blackpool Combat Club. He and Moxley were in this faction together for a while, weren't they? So it's interesting that Moxley completely turns on Bryan Danielson at the end there, and not only beats him for the title, but retires him and retires him being taken out on a stretcher. So the dream match machine, like everybody's dream match was Bryan Danielson for a while. Will Ospreay, a lot of these guys. He wins the title against Swerve Strickland in Europe, and then here it was, the end. So a great write-up by Ryan Woodrow, who is a writer based in London. So he's one of the international fans of pro wrestling at this point. Great write-up. Go to Men's Journal and look up this article. Bryan Danielson is the reason I love pro wrestling. If you want to take a dive through Bryan Danielson's history in both WWE and AEW, if you want to look at some great photos and reminisce about some of his key matches and key moments. Fun stuff. Do you want to talk Jon Moxley now?
Yeah, let's do it.
This is related. I don't know that I'm going to be able to play this video here. This is how I get. Did they open Dynamite this way or close it this way? This past
They
Wednesday
opened AEW Dynamite with this video,
Okay.
and maybe I will go ahead and.
Are you going to risk playing? This is from All Elite Wrestling's channel here. Is it worth the strike on the channel for us to play their content?
I think that they won't strike us. I've had stuff before with I have had, like, remember Tony Khan had the
Yes.
video where he was talking about CM Punk. So I think we'll
Yes.
be all right. I think we'll be
Okay.
okay. And I don't think they'll strike.
Okay.
anything.
This is a YouTube video on YouTube, so AEW YouTube's algorithm might just be all over us for this, but yeah, give it a shot. It's a 2-minute video. Apparently, this is the aftermath of Wrestle Dream, and it's how they opened the program Wednesday by showing what. All right. I think that's a well-produced spot, and I think Moxley is fantastic, just carrying it the whole way from a dialogue standpoint. I mean, he's the old Shield in WWE. Wow, have these guys grown up in their careers?
Yeah, they've all gone on to do like amazing stuff.
And they've all become great on the mic, great at character work. I mean, Moxley seems the most real of all of them over in AEW now. This is fantastic, and it's kind of bringing the dirt sheets into the wrestling ring, right? Because the
Yeah.
dirt sheets have been talking about how AEW's got too many people. They're spending too much money. There's too many people who don't get on TV, don't get into the pay-per-views. They're just standing around doing nothing. What's going on? What's Tony doing? Does he know how to run a wrestling company? Does he know how to run any sort of business? What's he doing?
That is the dirt sheet dialogue, and that's all the old guys that have podcasts that hate everything.
It's they talk about life imitating art. This is art imitating life. They're
Mm.
taking the dirt sheets, the real shoots that people are doing, and they're turning it into a work.
Yeah, no,
Play the video, release the tape. We have done it, Nick. What did you think there? Tell us in the chat, tell us in the comment. Had you seen this already, either by watching AEW on Wednesday or by finding the clip on one of the streaming platforms? What did you think of it? Tell us in the chat, tell us in the comments.
We got one from Nick. The opinion.
Hate that Mox ended Bryan's career. Wish he had one more with Okada and Zack Sabre Jr. Think he's just really banged up at this point. So, okay, so Nick, tell us, is it just the timing that was bad for you? Because let's say he has your dream matches that you mentioned there, and then goes into this Moxley match at a future pay-per-view down the line. Would you have been okay with that?
I feel like that was the plan, Dom. I think that they had to cut it early because of like some health issues. At least that's just a total guess based off of like you hear like the rumors, but then you're like, all right, these rumors don't really mean anything. But if you think about them losing it at All Out or All In, All In, where he wins the title, he only has it for like 6 weeks, 8 weeks, and then drops it right away. There had to have been a longer run that they were planning. Not really a hot potato, but I think it sets up down the road. Like, I think one of the big complaints with AEW, and maybe they're kind of addressing, is like the storytelling or even a long-term storytelling. Because if Daniel Bryan or Brian Danielson, very confusing name, Brian Danielson is able to come back, then you're gonna want to watch the match between him and Moxley, the rematch, right? Okay. After that, you're gonna be like, yeah, let's get this going, and then I think it's good because it'll give a legitimate reason for him to be on the shelf. So,
okay,
I thought the promo was awesome when I watched it in the beginning of the Dynamite. I was like, this is probably one of the better vignettes I've seen in wrestling in a very long time.
Oh, it's WWE production quality. I think even better.
Yeah,
I think this was fantastic.
The shades of realism with the fans yelling at them. This is right after everything went down.
Yeah,
so the shades of the realism right after it happened, and they're on the truck, and the crowd's screaming as they notice, oh, it's him. He's on TV.
Yeah,
and the little innocent boy that's drug along in Wheeler Yuta at the very end, kind of looking off, like he doesn't want to be doing what he's doing, but he's kind of just like stuck into it. I thought that was a nice little touch.
Okay, so they're setting up maybe something happens to Wheeler Yuta here.
Mm-hmm.
We talked about the Bloodline and how much we enjoy the fact that they're doing slow burns with the Bloodline in WWE. Does AEW do slow burns, or is everything seem like it's very quick?
Oh yeah, it's all super fast. Vince and Tony, and I'm going to say Vince because Vince has been the booker for a long time. Vince will almost not book things, and they like never happen because he's waiting for the perfect time.
To
get to that point because he really wants to like take advantage of whatever that would be. And then Tony just says, "Oh, I like these two guys. Let's see them wrestle." So which is also good. Like, which has done them well. Always like the short term booking. Like, oh yeah, this is our most popular guy right now. This is another popular guy. Match them up, go. Rather than like build them up, and try to get them together. Because oftentimes Vince would delay the gratification, and it never really comes. You know.
He missed his chance at Ric Flair, Hulk Hogan
Exactly. That's a great
during
example.
Flair's first run in WWF.
Mm-hmm. There's a ton like that. That like, why did these two never have a rivalry? And it's like, they never got around to it, or they just, they pushed it off for too long. Where they build it, because Vince is always thinking like WrestleMania. He's always been WrestleMania pill to a point where everything needs to build to WrestleMania. All the other stuff is just stuff in between, right? To get to WrestleMania.
Before we get to the build to WrestleMania, if his health had cooperated, which we're guessing that his health really did, the reports from some of these wrestling insiders are true. If Bryan Danielson's health had cooperated, should this have been a slow burn?
It's probably, slower than 6 weeks or 8 weeks or whatever it was. But I think it was a bit of a happy accident because you're in Seattle, and I don't think you get that kind of reaction from the crowd if you're not in Daniel Bryan's hometown.
Okay, the dead silence.
Yeah, the dead silence in Daniel Bryan's hometown, because Tony doesn't typically book like in a way where the hometown doesn't leave happy, So, yeah, he typically that's actually a Vince thing. For some weird reason, he'd always do hometown not happy. And once you start to see more and more of like that Mr. McMahon documentary, you see a lot of the way that Vince would book with just like spite and like, inside jokes almost, hey, I'm the boss, I can do whatever I want.
Okay.
But so yeah, we talked at great lengths here about AEW. We have a lot of people in the chat on YouTube and Twitch, so let us know what you think about AEW's current direction. We appreciate the feedback from you guys and appreciate hanging in. So, Dom, go ahead. Keep going.
We brought up WrestleMania. They're already on the road to WrestleMania 41.
Yes.
It's like 6 months out. Samantha Irvin and Rey Mysterio Jr. were out at Allegiant Stadium in Las Vegas, home of WrestleMania 41. They're getting the crowd fired up and into things. This is from WWE's Instagram post here. Cody Rhodes, of course, is over on a tour with some WWE folks in England. He's teasing that WrestleMania might go to the UK at some point. Cody Rhodes just told WWE Manchester that someone in Stamford is watching to see if the UK can fill a stadium. The WrestleMania hints continue. So they're already dropping hints about WrestleMania 41 and future WrestleManias. It's like you said, they're always thinking about WrestleMania in the WWE. Maybe that's why WWE WrestleMania is always so successful, because it's always on people's minds. This also gave them a chance while being over there to do some UFC WWE cross promotion here. This is Tom Aspinall. I did not know much about him, so I looked him up over there on UFC's site. Let's bump this up for some people here. We'll get rid of the cookies. Tom Aspinall, he's in the heavyweight division. He is the interim title holder there for UFC. He's 15-3-0 in his career, so he's up there in Bobby Lashley record territory. And of course, being over in England, hey, let's do some cross promotion for the sister promotion there, the sister sports promotion there. There's Cody Rhodes in the background, and they are waving on Tom Aspinall. So tons of stuff happening in WWE, all either corporate promotion related or WrestleMania related. They're already thinking about WrestleManias that haven't even been booked yet.
Yes. I mean, yeah, they're already doing the second thing. I wonder if Cody though, like, just goes to every city. It's like, we should have WrestleMania here, right? And the crowd's like, yeah. It's just like Cody Rhodes cheap heat babyface,
Right?
or
That's
if
he's doing his like he's in Peoria, Illinois.
Peoria, Illinois, and it's like,
It's like, no offense to those of you in Peoria, Illinois. Like, oh, I'll pick on myself. I went to college in Scranton. He's in Scranton, Pennsylvania, going, there's people in Stanford wondering if we can fill this minor league hockey arena.
yes, right. If we could get this minor league hockey arena, yeah, the Philadelphia Phantoms AHL team
Right.
in Scranton, can they fill the stadium? I'll tell you what, though, as a person in the Philadelphia area, I would not mind a London WrestleMania pay-per-view at all because it would be early. They're usually longer shows, so you could be like, you're not getting into that midnight 1 a.m. twilight. Sometimes they bleed into.
Yes.
And from my perspective, the timing would be fine. It'd be crazy in London. I mean, any city, it's going to be crazy. Like, let's face it. They do such a great job building it because they're WrestleMania pilled in WWE.
And both WrestleMania and SummerSlam, which the WWE likes to do as 2-day shows now. They'll start that for SummerSlam in 2025. April and August, you're not running into NFL games on Sundays, and you're not running into college football on Saturdays.
I was thinking,
and an afternoon WrestleMania, I'm in.
Yeah, and it is funny you said that because I thought right away about football. Football is the biggest thing for any live event to avoid. It just dominates, right? So even the MLB playoffs are like, oh no, there's a Thursday night football game with the Saints and the Broncos, which probably will do bigger numbers than these amazing MLB playoff games.
Right. It's just how it's the one and done nature of the NFL.
Yes.
They don't have 7-game series for anything.
Yeah.
There's no Carmelo Hayes Andrade 7-game series.
Yeah.
Right. It's just one and done stuff in football. So football is always an event. It's huge.
Mm-hmm.
Someone they've been hinting at this is from comingsoon.net. This past week on Raw, so 5 days ago, they dropped a couple of Brock Lesnar hints. WrestleOps is reporting there via Fightful Select there are no plans right now for Brock Lesnar to return, nor any creative plans in place in WWE. But they're wondering why they kept making Beast references to the Beast references on Raw. What's going on? Do you think they're just trying to very quietly or swerve people on the wrestling media sites? Do you think there's a way for Brock Lesnar to return to the WWE? He eventually was put on the shelf because his name came up in the sexual assault case against Vince McMahon.
Mm-hmm.
It wasn't, I don't think, alleged that Brock had committed any crimes, but just his name was associated with it. And WWE corporate, TKO corporate, very quickly just said, all right, yep, we don't even want your name associated with WWE at the moment. Go away. Could things cool down where you think Brock Lesnar could return? What do you make of them hinting at it on Raw? And would you want to see Brock Lesnar back?
Yeah. Time heals all, right? I don't think that if someone screws up, they should just be completely deleted. I don't think he should also ignore it. It's got to be acknowledged at some point and figured out and talked about, and then we move on. But yeah, that's how I feel about all this stuff. So, Brock Lesnar, you can't have him out there right away. They have to be safe as a publicly traded company, yada, yada, yada. But all that stuff he was doing didn't seem terrible, and I didn't seem like the mastermind behind it, which is Vince, and that's the guy that you kind of have to go after. But there's some value. Obviously, there's tons of value to Lesnar. He's a great in-ring talent. He also, for their company, TKO, must be a super valuable asset, as he is definitely going to be a WWE Hall of Famer and a UFC Hall of Famer. Just an all-time athlete as far as what he's been able to accomplish, at least, from the NCAA men's championship, like winning that, and then going into the UFC and then winning their heavyweight title. Those are, those are shoot, not worked opportunities or things that he won. And then in addition to that, being such a big face in WWE, I mean, he's one of those guys that, he's a pretty remarkable person. He's accomplished a lot. So hopefully he's not just carried, deleted or whatever.
If you've subscribed to Don't Bury the Lead, head on over to the channel there on YouTube. If you haven't, head on over to the channel on YouTube, subscribe, and then go looking in our archives of videos. We did last year, who would win in a real fight?
Yeah.
We did it bracket style.
Right.
The 8 men's champions at that point, singles title holders and combined tag team title holders at the time, which was Kevin Owens and Sami Zayn. And then we threw in a couple of guys who just didn't have belts, but we thought should be there. A few guys like that. So we had it down to 8. Brock Lesnar won our fictional who would win in a real fight brackets. Go look up that video. That was fun to do. You did some research for that. What are these guys' backgrounds in not only major competitive sports, but combat sports if they have them. And so, yeah, Brock Lesnar was our predicted champion of a who would win a real fight.
Yeah. I wonder if that's got me thinking a little bit. Yeah, go ahead and check that in the archives of Don't Bury the Lead. It's under one of the playlists.
Mm-hmm. And in the finals of that bracket there, I think it was Brock Lesnar versus this guy. The story comes to us from WrestleZone. Bobby Lashley, who is now in AEW, we think, because AEW decided against debuting Bobby Lashley at WrestleDream. Were you expecting Bobby Lashley at WrestleDream, John?
I have expected him for a little bit now because they have MVP and Shelton Benjamin kind of taking around. Shelton Benjamin wrestled on Wednesday against Leo Rush, who jobbed to him. But yeah, I've been expecting Bobby Lashley, but who knows if they're just trying to get the timing right and then what they'll do with Bobby Lashley. But it looks like they're doing a program with Shelton Benjamin and Swerve Strickland, which should be pretty cool.
Okay, per Sean Ross Sapp, they're quoting here. Lashley was considered for an appearance. However, the company decided against it. Sources noted that the debut likely would have led to Swerve Strickland being laid out. Sources said this would not have worked well with Bryan Danielson, another hometown hero, being beaten at the end of the show. So maybe some good calls here creatively.
Yeah, because you're going to have the 2 baby faces just getting pounded down, and that's the show.
Yep.
Yeah.
So keep your eye out. Apparently, Bobby Lashley has signed with the company, and his friends there have already made their on-air debuts, in-ring debuts as well. So keep a lookout for Bobby Lashley there. You still think this is a big signing? Lots of potential.
For sure.
Very good. I was sorry to see him leave WWE SmackDown because I thought he had a run in him. At least it looked like they were building him for that.
With Bobby Lashley, I'm surprised WWE let him go because I just thought he was good enough that he's getting a pop everywhere he goes, and there's something to be said about that. They try to turn him into a heel, and the crowd just loves him, so he's a great face. And I thought he could still work. It's not like he was done. He's in fantastic physical shape, and anytime he came out, you're like, okay, this guy's pretty cool. But
maybe they were mad the crowd kept cheering him. Now I wonder if he's supposed to be a heel in AEW, will the crowd just love Bobby Lashley too much, or will the AEW crowd understand and look at the heel antics of him and MVP and Shelton Benjamin and get into it and boo these guys?
Yeah, that's a good point. They're going to try to make him a heel again. Why don't they just let him be a face? Everybody loves him.
I don't know. Not everybody can be a face, right?
Yeah.
Speaking of a guy who doesn't know if he's a face or a heel, it's Dwayne Johnson, The Rock. We don't know. Is he teasing a heel run when he comes back or a face run? He did a very face thing recently. He posted this to his account on Twitter X there. He met Muhammad Ali when he was a little kid. It made such a positive impression on him. So when he gets the chance to meet young fans, he tries to make it worth their while. He was apparently met a young fan named Marco. It was great to meet you, shake your hand, and give you a hug. Keep up the great work in school. Thank you, big man, for being my biggest fan. P.S. Us big boys cry too. Not sure where he got to meet him, but he was out there. This maybe is a tour of Hollywood studios or something, and The Rock is there working on a movie. So he finds out that he's got somebody asking for him out there, and hey, maybe it's his lunch break. He runs out and meets some fans. This was neat. This is definitely a babyface thing, though. Reminiscent of, and you brought this up, Cody Rhodes over the summer, seeing a fan in the stands saying he survived brain surgery and bringing the guy into the ring. Cody Rhodes, babyface. This is a babyface move. The Rock, just kind of as a guy, is a babyface, right? No matter what he's doing in wrestling, The Rock is kind of a babyface. People like to cheer for The Rock, movie star, businessman, personality.
It feels a little bit like that, but there also is a certain section of the internet that I've noticed, because I have the video when I made my Rock video, that were commenting about him, and they were like burying him. So
Okay.
I feel like and even getting the boos in WWE seemed like a lot more natural than getting cheered.
Okay.
But yeah, he's a massive star, so I guess people are going to have, when you get like Taylor Swift big, right? There's going to be Swiftie haters and there's going to be Swiftie lovers. So, yeah. But then I really like what Cody Rhodes did there, because you really can't do any better than that, right? Like that's as babyface as you get.
Right? Call someone into the ring after an event and then give them a piece of your memorabilia there.
No, that's awesome. And I think he's really good at stuff like that. He's really kind of replaced Cena pretty well, because this is really Cena's shtick, was
Yes.
Make-A-Wish, all sort of like goodwill things like this, which are like amazing. So very cool that Cody did this.
Kid dropped his phone, though. I hope he got his phone, because there's probably some really cool pictures on it.
Yeah, I know. This is, I'm sure there's tons of footage right now online, because we're seeing like the different footage they have, but very cool that Cody Rhodes did this.
This was a babyface move. This was from August. I guess they were, I'm not sure where they were touring at the time, but yeah, this is definitely the babyface move. So Cody Rhodes, definitely a babyface. The Rock, we're not so sure, but still gracious to his fans, especially the kids.
Yeah, we'll see. Is he going to be the final boss Rock, or is he babyface Rock?
I hope it's the final boss Rock.
I'm rooting for it's. Yeah, in my heart of hearts, I want heel Rock.
If they want me to cheer The Rock, I will boo them wanting me to cheer The Rock. I will cheer them wanting me to boo The Rock.
Right.
Figure that one out on the whiteboard. One more. We talk about wrestlers doing stuff outside of wrestling successfully. Who's this guy here on the end? It's Phil Brooks, CM Punk. Starring in a horror thriller called Night Patrol. This comes to us from the Hollywood Reporter. Good news for CM Punk. Maybe he takes a little time off as well to go film a movie. We've seen a lot of the guys who are the better characters, the better talkers in wrestling, be able to do this. Not just The Rock, not just John Cena. Roman Reigns recently took some time off and was doing a movie. MJF over in AEW was doing a movie. Hey, CM Punk. What say you about CM Punk getting his shot? And do you know anything about CM Punk's, if he's done anything like this before, and have you seen any of it?
Yeah, he did another movie where he may have starred in it that got pretty good reviews, and I don't know if it was more independent, but it was some sort of horror flick. When he was out of wrestling and kind of over the after he got his face kicked in the UFC and was like in that hiatus, he did a movie. So, and it
There
got
it is, Girl on the Third Floor in 2019.
for whatever it's the girl on the what is it? The girl on the third floor.
Girl on the Third Floor from 2019, 5 years ago.
Yeah, he did this movie, and it was one of these things where it got really good Rotten Tomatoes. That doesn't necessarily mean it's good or bad, but usually it goes up in that direction. Like if it's got generally good critically acclaimed reviews, and the users and the people like it too on Rotten Tomatoes, it's usually considered a good movie. But I don't want to get too deep into the Rotten Tomatoes. Is it right or wrong?
Okay, they mentioned the Punk is one of the biggest names of wrestling. His feud with fellow fighter Drew McIntyre being a big storyline. That was a great feud. Drew McIntyre, of course, got into a film that Dave Bautista made recently.
Yes.
So again, more guy, and we've talked about how Drew is doing some of the best work of his career. Good for all of these guys getting a chance to do more than just wrestle.
Mm-hmm.
So there you go, CM Punk in Night Patrol, a horror thriller. That's all I got. It's unseasonably warm. It's pathologically frugal. John, what is it?
It's cheap heat. All right. That's that. And you know what time it is, Dom? We still have some people here.
We do have some people. Wonderful. It's time to start saying goodbye, but not really leaving.
Yeah. Listen, it's time for the Italian goodbye, where typically shows would just end. But we don't do an Irish exit. No, no, no. We hang out. We talk. We talk about the channel. Talk about the weather. Talk about whatever. We'll talk about it. But this is the Italian goodbye here. This is when you're leaving, right? You got the food packed up. You're saying your goodbyes. You're in the foyer of the house, and you're trying to leave, but then the conversation kind of sparks back up, and you start talking and talking and talking again. And before you know it, it's an extra 30 minutes before you leave. That's the Italian goodbye, not the Irish goodbye. We will do the Irish goodbye on St. Patty's. Just to let you know, we in the past have done Irish goodbye. Bam.
It just ends without us even giving you a proper send-off.
That's only during St. Patty's time of the year.
I had occasion to mention the Italian goodbye and the Irish goodbye. I was at a symposium at the beginning of October, first week of October, and I was looking around for one of the hosts of it, and I was leaving at the end of it, going to catch a train back to Jersey. This was over in Philadelphia, and I'm looking around, and he's not there. So I said to the other co-host of the event, I said to her, did so and so do an Irish goodbye? I don't see him. And she just kind of stared at me, and she said, yeah, he had to leave. Yes. What's the Irish goodbye? And I said, oh, I'm sorry, I didn't realize. I sometimes forget not everybody knows my weird terminology. The Irish goodbye, where you just kind of leave before anyone knows. You're out the door before anyone knows you're gone. You're halfway home before anyone knows you've left. So one of those. So yes, I did bring up the Irish goodbye in mixed company, and got a strange look, because it's kind of a strange thing to say. But yes, we know the Irish goodbyes. We know the Italian goodbyes. If you are joining us on Twitch or Twitter on the live stream, thank you very much for finding us on these other platforms that we do live stream on. But the motherload of our content is over at the YouTube channel. That's where we can keep this stuff in archives. You can't really keep stuff on Twitch. And it's weird to keep stuff in an archive on Twitter, on X. But YouTube's built for keeping stuff in an archive. We've been doing Don't Bury the Lead for more than 2 years now. It goes back to the last Friday of September in 2022. We are into our third year. So All of the live streams are archived at the YouTube channel. Plus the great edited short videos, the clips that John makes that he produces very well, not only from our live streams, but he's been doing some special reports as well. Check those out. And the hashtag shorts, which are the sub 60-second content that John also makes. He does all of our great video production here. And he runs the channel during the live streams. So go to Don't Bury the Lead, a wrestling channel on YouTube. Subscribe. If you really want to help us out, you can hit the join button because we have been approved for the YouTube partnership for the join. So hit subscribe, hit join, and search for our great content over at the YouTube channel.
Yeah. We have been approved for that first level of monetization, so you can join. Even more helpful, just subscribe as well. Thinking about making an option for a free membership, but I don't want to leak that. But
Okay. Like raffle that off as a big old prize or something?
just give one level of membership free. Like you can
Okay.
comment, and then your highlight is commented as a member of the channel, and that would be the extent of like the free membership.
Okay, in the join, because right now anybody who's a YouTube has a YouTube account and is a YouTube user and logs in can comment on our videos, can hit the like button for us, which, you know, we read the comments and we appreciate the likes, we appreciate all the things, all the engagement that helps other people find the videos.
And
The algorithms love engagement. So
yeah,
if you want to help people find Don't Bury the Lead, watch our videos, click that like button, click subscribe, leave a comment when you have something to say. Keep it YouTube appropriate because, you know, YouTube watches for that kind of stuff. We will read them. Sometimes John goes through and actually reacts or responds to some of the great comments. Sometimes we've had videos where commenters just kind of generate their own little ecosystem there, and it's viewers and other viewers in their own conversation without us, which is great to see. It means that people are really getting into our content, and there's enough people watching where, you know, they can just spontaneously pick up on their own. That's great to see. All
Yeah.
of the growth that the channel has undergone. And when we talk about the channel's growth, we're of course talking about viewers. We're not talking, you and I are doing the same thing we were doing in September of 2022. The difference is all the people who found us and who have responded positively in some fashion, sometimes in many fashions, to what we're putting out here. So thank everybody very much for that.
Yeah, and we do have a different background. We did have the restream where it just said black and it just said restream. That actually, looking back on some of those old videos, was visually stunning because it was just black.
Yes.
And then it just said restream. So, and we didn't have segments, and you couldn't really follow along.
Yep.
So yeah, those were the content. Well, I should say the first couple times, you know, we're feeling out how the show would go. Like the first couple months, you know, it's rough because we don't even know the flow back and forth. But now
we didn't know what we were doing, and we didn't know even what we were watching. We were still trying to learn. Like the early live streams are me not having watched WWE regularly in more than 10 years.
Yeah.
And, you know, going, who are these people?
I didn't know any. Oh, totally. That's when we saw LA Knight.
Who's the guy dancing?
You know what's really interesting too? When I thought of doing WWE, I knew that AEW was the hotter thing at the time, which it really was.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, they're getting as much more views on SmackDown still, so there is a huge market for it. Mm-hmm. And then I didn't want to have like too many smart marks, like leaving like snooty comments and stuff. I was like, that's probably going to be more AEW folks.
That's our job.
WWE. Yes, right. And then lo and behold, we picked the right horse accidentally because AEW started to kind of go down. Vince gets in trouble. Triple H takes over. It's got like better vibes and ratings at the moment, right? Mm-hmm. And it was like, wow, we accidentally picked the right one.
We did, and since we've expanded and are doing our look around the wrestling world segment that you named Cheap Heat, which was, you know, that's coming up with good names for stuff is half the battle, right? So we've been doing more of the AEW stuff in Cheap Heat, and it does help us that you are familiar with AEW's programming.
Yeah.
I
And
am not.
I
I
would
always did a Cheap Heat to John. Do you know this person?
it's legitimate. It's not
Yeah.
it's not a work.
No.
You're like, I have no idea who this is. What's
It's
going
like,
on?
I don't really know these people. I may have seen a clip here and there, but what did you think of this? Did this work? You watched this, right?
I hope.
Yes, it's just me. Like, I'm old man, no yeets at cloud. No yeet. No
no
yeet.
yeet. Oh my god. The
Yes.
yeet things. But
Because the old man doesn't yeet at the cloud, because apparently yeet's good. The old man no yeets at the cloud.
we also thanks for people that joined today. We had a lot of people on during Cheap Heat. We had like 6 people watching Cheap Heat. So
Fantastic. Tell us what you think. Did we miss anything in Cheap Heat? Were there stories from this past week that you wanted us to cover that we didn't? Were any of the stories we covered not to your satisfaction? Were any of our takes disagreeable to you? You're allowed to disagree. It's fun. Again, just keep the comments YouTube appropriate. We appreciate the banter. If you liked what we said, hey, throw us one of those comments as well. Throw us in there, say, hey, man, agree with the take on Bryan Danielson ending his career there.
Yeah.
We're up for praise every now and then, for congratulatory remarks. We'll take all of them.
We also, Dom, did you see this morning I put out a video by chance? Did you see that?
I was out taking a walk this morning because the sun was out, and you could see I've got sunshine on my shoulder, makes me happy. And my kitchen window is that away, and
Yes.
it's there on the sport jacket. So I did not check in with the YouTube channel because I knew we would be doing this, and I'd be just overwhelmed with all of the channel stuff. So I went for a nice walk, started setting up, knowing that we'd be live streaming early. What did you put out today that we can plug?
So we had a conversation about Vince McMahon on AP News about how NDAs were potentially going to be released by WWE TKO. So I put that video out. It was pretty good back and forth, and then also pretty good information, I'd have to say.
Yeah.
That came through that that it could potentially be a huge deal for Vince in a bad way if the NDAs if I mean, we already know a lot of the stuff that's happening, but once all the NDAs are out, then that's going to be just a complete mess. Unless he works to even pay them more money for the NDAs, or he lets them flow. Either way,
Well, he'd have to pay his own money this time.
Yeah, he couldn't use the company money for the NDAs. Hilarious that he did such a poor job covering his tracks.
Yeah, right.
All the texting and all of the using company money to do it when he's a billionaire.
Right.
It's like you couldn't scrape up some couple million of your own.
He's leaving an electronic paper trail.
Yes.
Once again, old man no yeets at cloud.
It's very old man no yeets at
the cloud is destroying him. All his texts are on the cloud somewhere. All of the electronic transactions, they live on the cloud somewhere.
Oh, Dom, that's definitely going to be a short too. Old man yeets, no yeets at cloud.
Yes.
I don't know what yeet is.
With the superimpose. Yes, I don't know what it is. What's going on? Like, people are having a normal conversation, and suddenly one guy goes, no yeet.
No yeet.
What? Can I get a closed captioning on the bottom to translate for me? What's going on?
Well, Dom, people are winding off the call as we are.
Oh, no yeet.
No yeet.
Did I use it correctly? Tell me in the comments, did I use it correctly?
Did you use no yeet correctly? I think it's about time to mosey on down. Thanks everyone for joining. We had a pretty good turnout especially during Cheap Heat. Great stuff from Nick. Check out Nick Wrestling Club. Very good YouTube up and coming channel. Good live streams. And thanks for Jesse.
You also got a shout out from your sister-in-law, correct?
Yes, who's 2 blocks away. They would talk to you almost like every day. But thank you for jumping on.
There you go.
And
That was a yeet.
and that was a yeet. And Dom, thank you so much for joining. We got some yeet shorts at least out of this.
Oh, it was a yeet show.
And thanks everyone for joining, and have a great.
Don't bury the yeet.
Don't bury the yeet. Have a great rest of your evening.